Hey everyone, this is an overview of how to play Coin and Crown. The objective of Coin and Crown is to, at the end of the game, which is the end of year 5, have the most victory points. And you're going to be able to earn victory points in a couple of ways: by conquering lands and adding them to your tableau, also by taking your existing lands and upgrading them to make them more valuable. Whoever controls the church will get victory points at the end of the game, and whoever controls these master tokens is going to get victory points at the end of the game. After 5 rounds or 5 years, person who has the most is going to win. So let's start with setup. You're going to divide all the cards by type. So you have land cards, which are those orange cards, and those are going to be divided into hamlets, villages, towns, and cities. These are called the market cards, and those you're going to divide into the bronze market, silver market, and gold market. You're going to shuffle those up, and you're going to lay out 3 cards from each deck for a 2-player game. This is set up for a 2-player game. In a 3-player game, there will be 4 cards laid out, and in a 4-player game, there will be 5 cards laid out. Basically, the number of players plus 1 for each of those decks. Up at the top here, these are known as purple tiles, and for this game, we're going to be playing with the Imperial Mint, the Church, and the Overseas Market. There are some additional purple cards that were included in the game, but those are recommended for after you've played this game a couple of times. So for the first time players, those are the purple tiles that are recommended. This is the year track, and the year track token, you're going to set that at year 1. This is the supply of coins that you're going to just place off to the side. These are called battle strength tokens. There are 2 types. There are ones that are valued at 2 and ones that are valued at 1. These are called master tokens, and those can just be placed off to the side. This is known as land upgrade cards. So these little half cards, and those can be set off to the side. And then for each player is going to begin the game with a hamlet. So beginning with the start player, and the start player is the player who last saw a castle. So whoever that was gets the start player token, and then they are just going to draw the top hamlet card and place it in their tableau. And so each player will begin with a land. Each player is also going to begin with a quick reference card, and you also have a matching token that matches your quick reference card, and that can be placed at the base of the overseas market. There are some additional tokens that are included in the game for the other purple cards, but those can be placed out of the game for now. Each player is also going to begin with some coins for their coin bag, and each player will begin with 5 bronze, 2 silver, and 1 gold, and those are going to go directly into your bag. A couple of things you don't need. This deck is called the enemy deck. This is only used for solo play. So you can remove that. And then there are 4 special land cards known as the enemy city land cards, and those are also only used for solo play. I do have another video that goes over how to play this game solo, so check that out if you're interested in that. I think that covers it for setup, so let me pick it up and I'll explain how we play. Okay, so for the beginning of each year, all players are simultaneously going to draw 4 coins from their coin purse. So that's player 1's draw. That's player 2's draw. So both players drew 3 bronze and 1 silver. So play is going to begin with the start player, and then we'll go clockwise. So beginning with the start player, they can perform one of 3 core actions, and this is listed on your quick reference card. You can buy one card from the market, you can conquer one land, or you can make one upgrade to an existing land. Those are your three options. You get to choose one of those on your turn. In addition, there are a couple of free actions that you can take. The first is to reserve a coin for next year. So basically, each year we're going to draw 4 coins from our coin purse. But if you wanted to, you could take one of your coins and for free, you could reserve it for next year. It can be any denomination, but you're limited to one max reserved per year. The other free actions are you can use any or all of the purple specialty cards. So I'll get into what those do, but you can use each of these once per turn. And to begin, I guess we'll just begin by just kind of launching into a play. But before I do that, let me explain a little bit about the currency. So up here on the Imperial Mint, you'll see that it shows 3 bronze equals 1 silver, 3 silver equals 1 gold. This is basically the income ratio in the game. So these 3 bronze are the equivalent of 1 silver. And that's important to note because there's a cost associated with all of these cards that you're buying in the market. This field costs 1 bronze, standard troop costs 1 bronze, this mine costs 2 silver. Everything in this silver market's gonna have a cost listed in silver. Everything in the gold is gonna have a cost listed in gold, and then bronze will be listed in bronze. But you can pay for something on a different level. So if I wanted to, I could take these 3 bronze and spend them to purchase this skilled builder, which costs 1 silver, because this is the value equivalent. The other thing I could do is I can overpay. So if let's say I didn't have these and I had a silver, but I really wanted this field or I really wanted this troop, I could overpay. And I would basically get that, I would pay a silver, even though it only costs a bronze. When you overpay, you do not get change though. So it's, in your best interest to pay exact change. The third type of thing you can do with currency is related to the imperial market, which allows you to exchange currency. So remember I said you could use each of these cards once per turn. So once per turn, I could visit the Imperial Mint, and for free, because it's a purple card, so it's therefore a free action, I could take these 3 bronze, put them back to the supply, and in exchange get 1 silver. And now I have 2 silver to work with. Why am I doing that? Well, basically, at the end of the round, whenever you spend money, it's going to go off to your side, which I'll put it just off here to the right of the quick reference card. This is known as your personal discard pile. So all income goes from your active income once spent to your personal discard pile. When the bag is empty and you go in to draw more coins and there are no coins to be drawn, everything that's in your personal discard pile will dump back into your coin purse. So by upgrading, you're going to be able to tighten up your bag, so to speak, because money is going to be circulating. So now when using the Imperial Mint, you can, and sometimes it's a good strategy you can actually downgrade your coins. So if I had a silver, I could also downgrade it to 3 bronze. Or if I had a gold, I could downgrade that to 3 silver. Whenever you exchange, just remember it always goes in your active income. So that explains currency a little bit. So let's say for this turn, I did, in fact, visit the Imperial Mint, change those 3 bronze to a silver. I now have these 2 silver to spend. Let's talk about that first core action that I can do, which is buy 1 card from the market. Well, I can buy any of these cards. I don't have enough to buy a gold market card, so I don't have enough income for that. I may actually spend all of my money and buy this mine. Mines are pretty expensive. But why did I buy a mine? Well, if you look at my hamlet, I have a resource track at the bottom of this. And in order to upgrade this land from a hamlet to a village, which is the first bracketed section, It requires ore and wheat, and a mine produces ore. So in order to do that, I would need a mine. There are a couple of different ways you can work on upgrades that I'll explain, but I'm looking at that because I need a mine, and then to upgrade it to a city later on, I'm gonna also need a mine. So I know I'm gonna use this mine a few times. So I'm gonna get it early because it's the only mine out there. Now, when you do that, it's gonna go right into your Tableau. And the other thing you're gonna have to check for is whether or not one of these master tokens has already been deployed in the game. In this case, none of them have. So because I'm the first player to get a mine, I get this master token because I now have the most mines. Now, if at any point the other player gets more mines than me, then they would get to take this token from me. If they get the same number of mines as me, I would still retain it. They have to overtake me in quantity of mines. So I've purchased that, and that's basically how buying a card from the market works. You'll notice this does not get replenished. These don't get replenished till the end of the year, and I'll explain how those work. So moving on to player 2, let's say they are looking, and I'll just, in case you can't really see, their village, they would require 2 fields in order to upgrade to a village. But since I've spent all my money and they know they're going to be the start player next turn, because the start player token is going to rotate each year, they're not too concerned about getting this field right now. So instead, I think they're going to bulk up on their military. So they're going to start by getting an elite troop. That elite troop costs 1 silver, so they're going to spend that. Now, troops are unique because they get loaded with these battle strength tokens. And elite troops have a battle strength of 2 for each attack. That's why I'm getting these larger 2 strength tokens. And those you're just going to load right on the card. The other piece of information that this says is that this elite troop will retire after 2 attacks. So once these 2 have been removed, then that troop will have to be retired. Now we're going to go back to player 1 because I took my 1 core action. And player 1 has spent all of their money, and so they cannot buy a card from the market because they have no income. They cannot conquer a land because in order to conquer a land, you need military might, in which case you can conquer by force. And you'll notice that there are lands that are that have a defense strength. Each land has a defense strength, and that's this number in the shield. So the defense strength for a hamlet is 3, village is 5, town is 7, and a city is 9. So in order to overtake by force one of these lands, you need battle strength that equals or is greater than that. Of course, this player doesn't have any of that. The other way you can conquer a land is by diplomacy, and it's essentially bribing or paying off that land in order to overtake it. And hamlets and villages are the only land types that can be conquered by diplomacy. A hamlet requires 2 silver, and a village requires 1 gold. So you would just pay that to your personal discard pile, and then you could take that land. Player 1 doesn't have what is needed to conquer. The third type of core action is to make an upgrade to an existing land. So the player got the mine they needed, but they still needed a wheat. And unfortunately, they have no income to purchase this wheat. So their year is done. They spend it all on a expensive mine, and their year is done. Going back to player 2, so they've passed. When you're done for the year, you just pass, and then it'll go on to the next player. Player 2 still has income. They could upgrade through the Imperial Mint to turn this to a silver, but instead, they're going to actually spend this money in a different way because they want to pay exact change. So they're going to start by getting another troop. This standard troop costs 1 bronze, and this one also can retire after 2 attacks. But because it's a standard troop, they only have a battle strength of 1. So that gets loaded with 2 1 battle strength. Still 2 coins to spend, and they require a wheat and another wheat. They're going to go ahead, actually after all, they are going to buy that field. And then they're going to spend the last to buy an apprentice builder. Player 1 can't do anything because they've passed for the year. And so they don't have any more income to spend, so they are going to now conquer. To conquer, basically you're going to remove 1 token from each of your troops. You can't remove, all of these cards can only be used once per year. And it says that on, for example, the field may use once per year, but any card can only be used once per year. So you couldn't remove both battle strength tokens from a single troop. You can only remove 1 and use 1. So I currently have a battle strength of 3, or player 2 does, I should say. So they're going to discard those, and then these are going to be exhausted. Basically, you just tip them over onto their side. With a battle strength of 3, that's enough to conquer a hamlet, because the hamlet has a defense strength of 3, has to be equal to or higher than. And then you're just going to load that right into your tableau to extend your landscape. Now, if you were to remove the last token from a troop, then that troop would be retired by just slipping it under your quick reference card. Retiring does not move it out of your tableau. It simply means that you cannot deploy them anymore. And this is important because I went ahead and got ahead of myself. These master tokens would be deployed here. So this player got the military, also got the fields, and also got the builders. Bought a builder, was first to buy a field, and was first to buy military. Also got a land, so really did well on the master tokens. So if a troop gets retired, that still counts toward this military master token. So you would still count that as 2 military cards. So that's that player's turn. They were able to conquer. And then as a final act, they have enough here in order to upgrade. So they could upgrade this land or this land. This land requires 2 fields. This land requires a field and a mine. Well, they have a field, so they can go ahead and use that field for either of these. I think they're going to actually upgrade this land. And they're able to do that because of this apprentice builder. Basically, builders are wild cards. And it says -1 resource to upgrade. So this can be a stand-in for this ore that is required to upgrade that hamlet. So with that, you're going to take this land upgrade card and place it right over the hamlet and turn it into a village. So whereas it was once worth 1 victory point, it is now worth 2 victory points. And now for this land, player 2 can start working on upgrading it to a town. You can never jump ahead. You always have to go village, then town, then city. You always have to build your way up. But to upgrade to a town, this is now going to require ore and lumber and wheat. One thing that should be noted about the builders is apprentice builders only have the ability to upgrade hamlets to villages. That's why they're so cheap. Apprentice builder could not be used toward upgrading a town. The skilled builder, however, can. That's why the skilled builder is a little bit more expensive, because they can work on hamlets to villages or villages to town as a wild card. At the master level in here, there are also master builders that can work at any level. They can upgrade all the way from hamlet to village, village to town, or town to city. So those are the most powerful ones. So that's kind of explains all of the 3 core actions. And player 2 has no income, can't conquer anymore, has already upgraded. So player 2 is going to pass as well, which brings us to the end of the year. But before I get into the end of year sort of housekeeping duties, let me talk about the church and overseas market really quick. So the church is very simple. Let's say this player had this income still. They could donate any amount that they would like to the church. So they could take those 2 coins and donate them to the church. You basically just place them right on your matching symbol. Donating to the church, at the end of the game, whoever has donated the most money to the church will get some additional victory points that are listed at the bottom based on the number of players. It's important to note that money that goes to the church stays on that card for the remainder of the game, so it's permanently going out of your money circulation. If you donate no money to the church, you cannot qualify for the victory points there. The overseas market is kind of similar. You're basically taking money permanently out of, unlike all the other cards and stuff that you're purchasing that go to your personal discard pile. When you give money to the overseas market, it goes completely out of your circulation, goes back to the supply. So you can, again, donate 1, 2, 3, or 4 coins. I shouldn't say donate, give 1, 2, 3, or 4 coins to the overseas market. And whenever you do that, you're going to be basically going up this track. So if I were to give these 2 coins back to the supply, giving them to the overseas market, I'd be going up 2 on that track. Essentially what these give you are one-time resources or one-time troops for hire. So at the 2 level, I could now spend these to get a 1 battle strength troop, or a sheep, or a lumber, or I can always get the thing below it to a wheat. So you get your choice of one of those things. Because it's a free action, you can couple that with a conquer action if you wanted a troop, or with an upgrade action if you wanted to upgrade something. So this is really valuable if there's something you don't have in your tableau that you really need in order to upgrade, or if you're just 1 or 2 troops short of being able to conquer one of these lands, you can go ahead and hire a couple of more troops or hire another troop and get to that next level. Whenever you spend this, it will sink back down to the base, and then you can start all over again. Now, you're not required to spend that right away, so I could dump those 2 coins into the overseas market and just bank them. Leave that there, and on a future turn or a future year, I could always spend that when I'm ready. So with that, let's talk a little bit about end of round housekeeping duties. So on the back side of your quick reference card, it does overview kind of what you can do to end the year out. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to seed the market with bronze coins. So any card that is left in the market gets a bronze coin. Now, if there were ever already 2 coins on a card and you were to add a third, it would automatically upgrade that to a silver. So keep that in mind. The other thing to remember, if you're ever purchasing a card from the market and it has bonus coins on it, you have to pay the full price as usual, but once you take that card, any coins that are on it are going to go directly into your active income. So that's a really nice way to just add some additional income for you to do more things with. After you've done that, you're going to then replenish cards in the market. So now everything's going to be filled in. So now we have new market cards. And then we're going to check to see if any master tokens changed hands. Looks like everyone's got what they should have. Turn all exhausted cards to their ready position. So now these troops are once again ready to attack. The field and the apprentice builder are now ready as well. I also should note that you are not required to use these resources if you can. So if I wanted to, I could just hold on to these troops and amass more troops so that I could try to conquer bigger lands. But of course, if the longer you wait, then the fewer lands you have to sort of work on developing. You're also going to advance the year track token, and then you're going to reassign the start player coin for the upcoming year. This is always going to go clockwise. So in a 2-player game in year 5, so that each player gets a start turn on year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4. Year 5, whichever player has the fewest points showing on their land cards will get the start player token. In a 3-player game, whichever player has the fewest points for their land cards in years 4 and 5 will get the start player token. And then in 4-player game, year 5 will be decided that way. And that's pretty much it. You're now set up for year 2. You're going to draw 4 more coins from the bag and start on over again. At the end of the 5th year, whoever has the most points wins the game. One last thing I did not talk about is the future market, as we call it. So this bronze market, if you ever would like, you can always pay 2 bronze to just draw a blind, draw that top blind. You can pay 2 silver to draw that top blind, or you can pay 1 gold to draw that top blind. So that's always an option for you if you have the income to do so. I think that's it. Hope you enjoy it. Thanks for watching. One last thing I forgot to mention related to upgrading. So remember, I turned that to a village. If I end up upgrading that to a town, the way to show that it upgrades to a town is you just take this land upgrade card and you flip it over from a village to a town. So now, whereas it was worth 2 points, now it's worth 4 points as a town. And if you can upgrade that town to a city, how you show that, you remove that card entirely and you flip the entire card over and it becomes a city. Forgot to mention that during the playthrough, so I wanted to add that in. Thanks a lot.